Hey, what's up everyone, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance, which I don't suppose if I was going to be able to mentioning that because you know what the actual thing is all about, but anyway. So, last time we have managed to able to explore Casino Paradise Zone as Amy, and also we managed to able to obtain the third Chaos Emerald. In addition to that, we also managed to able to explore onto Ice Mountain Zone as Knuckles, and we actually managed to able to obtain not one, but two Chaos Emeralds on that zone as well. So in a grand total of those Chaos Emeralds that we've got since in the last video, we've actually obtained 3 of those Chaos Emeralds throughout. So, it's pretty cool though, or yeah, I think it's to be more specifically 3 Chaos Emeralds in the last video, and ultimately we actually got ourselves 5 Chaos Emeralds in total. So today for this episode, as you can see on screen, we're going to be once again playing as Tails, and this time around we're going to be exploring onto the 5th zone in this game, which appears to be Angel Island Zone, which, well, I've noticed something right from the start though. This zone reminds me of so much of Sky Sanctuary Zone. Sorry for a little bit of a tangent right there, just because of how the fact that it has been a couple of days since I actually touched upon this game, because usually, relatively speaking, it's the fact that, as you remember, that Piglet is still continuing things on Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest at the moment. So, because basically that's, I think, generally speaking, is the fact that I'm pretty sure he's almost at the halfway point of the actual entire Let's Play in Journey forms within Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest, I'm pretty sure. So, but either way though, I think he was actually gone to the halfway point of the entire game itself already. So either way though, not much else has been going on for this point today, apart from the fact that today's day is, of course, I would say today's day is the 11th of August today, in this case in 2020, so naturally speaking, we're almost at the halfway point in August month already in Journey Forms of this, specifically for this year itself. Well, to be more specifically, August, so I suppose there are quite a few things I just want to talk about before we're able to actually get onto that specific stuff. This is by far, as you can tell from the actual time length of this particular portion of this video, or this entire Let's Play of Sonic Advance, this particular part might actually be one of the longest parts of the whole entire Let's Play of this game, because, well, I'll explain more details about this, specifically whenever we get into the ending portion of the game. Specifically, if you really want to see the best ending in the game, or even especially noticeable if you really want to, like, well, you know, just trying to 100% everything in this whole entire thing. But then again, I'll discuss more about this until later. Alright, something I forgot to mention, is the fact that, yes, the grinding rails are actually existent in this game. However, it only works on Sonic and Amy, because compared to Tails and Knuckles, they can't able to actually grind on rails. I think this is probably something to do with the forms of the limitations of somewhat of a similar, similar gameplay styles, as in the forms of Sonic Adventure 2 or something. Like, specifically Sonic and Amy, can only able to actually grind on rails based off on the actual, well, action stage or something like that. It's just like in Sonic Adventure 2, even for multiplayer sakes. And, excuse me. Now, because of how the fact that the reason why Tails and Knuckles can't grind on rails until Sonic Advance 2 came around, that's only because of how the fact that, of course, Sonic Adventure 2 came out before this game. So as a result of that specific stuff, that's, you know, I just want to classify that. I think the only time you might as well able to actually grind on rails as Sonic or Amy is the fact that I'm pretty sure you need to jump and then press the directional pad down, and that way you can able to actually grind on rails. I'm pretty sure for that respect. Although whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 2 and Sonic Advance 3, that we can able to grind on rails even a lot, especially in Sonic Advance 2's case, that basically you get a tons of sense of speed in that game. So either way though, we'll gonna have to leave it to that. So as you can see on the actual footage speak for itself, as you can tell, since we've already played as every single character in this game, I'm pretty sure I might as well show you guys those playable characters once again, except, well, obviously that, as you can tell, that we managed to see Tails in Angel Island Zone Act 1, sorry. And now we're going to be selecting Knuckles in Act 2 in Angel Island. And because you rather know why? Well, this is mainly obvious, is because not only because of how the fact that we might able to come across into that, well, the familiar boss fights that we might able to come across into any moment's notice, but also, get this, is the special stage that we might able to consider fighting it. And, as far as I'm aware, is the fact that I'm pretty sure it's going to be slightly higher up during some portions of the level, I'm pretty sure. So either way though, and this is where the game starts to get a little bit tricky and difficult, and especially noticeable, this is one of those beginner's traps. Even when it gets like towards the end of the game, like for instance, for example, that we are now able to actually come across into cheap enemy placements, and also to top it all off, more instant kill stuff like for instance Bottomless Pit, and especially notable with the forms of getting crushed onto certain things. Well, no one near as like frustratingly annoying when you get crushed, unlike in Sonic Advance 3, because, oh man, we'll get to that, which I've already talked about that since during the forms have been the last video on this, but either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves for this point just yet, because, you know, we're playing the superior Sonic Advance game after all, because I can definitely see why that most people think this is the true definition of the true Sonic the Hedgehog 4, because the reason why we say this is the true Sonic the Hedgehog 4 because it contains 4 playable characters, because you never in the forms have been in Sonic 1, basically you just play as Sonic the whole way through, and then in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I'm talking about the forms of the 16-bit counterparts of some of those Sonic games themselves. Like, for instance, I said this before already, that in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, you know, the first game in the series, only picks you one character, which is of course Sonic himself. And then on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you can able to actually play as either Sonic or Tails. And then in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, you can able to play as Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles. And then in Sonic Advance, well, aside from most fans always calls this Sonic the Hedgehog 4, you can able to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. So, thought it was worth mentioning because it just makes it a little bit more of a sensical terms of stuff. Even though this game has been made by Dimps, the same company as they made the actual mediocre Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episodic releases, specifically mixed reception on episode 1, an okay experience in episode 2, and well, I don't know about you, but either way though, and also they did made Sonic Pocket Adventure as well, which if you want to know all that stuff though, then, you know, you might as well able to look it up on certain developer cycles out there, so. And also they did make the Sonic Rush games, excluding Sonic Colors for the DS, as well as Sonic Generations for the 3DS, and even Sonic Lost World, in this case, in my honest opinion, the worst, not only the worst Sonic games on the 3DS, but it's also as one of the worst Dimps Sonic games I've ever saw the light of playing. Because, you know, they did really screw up the special stages, as you know, and plus the levels themselves can really drag. Although, to be fair, I still enjoy the music in Sonic Lost World, but hey, they said usually just managed to get ourselves a massive top notch compared to that controversy which is Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric does, even though despite Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is a Wii U title, but I'm not gonna talk about that game anymore because, I'm sorry, it's just, I just hate that game so much. I have no idea why people just seem to be able to enjoy it. Compared to me, I simply had a terrible time playing it. But I digress. So anyways, we got ourselves the 6th Chaos Emerald, and it turns out we got ourselves a light blue emerald, and it's time for the boss. So let's see what we have. Oh, what the heck? Is that a double Gengar Knuckles? Wait a minute, it can't be. I'm Knuckles the Echidna. Well, as a character I'm playing as, but either way, this particular battle plays out very similar to the forms of how it does in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles in Hidden Palace Zone, where basically we have ourselves a one-on-one confrontation between... What the... oh, wait a minute, it's like a robotic version of himself. Which, this, ladies and gentlemen, is called Mecha Knuckles. And basically, as I said this before, this battle reminds me of so much of Sonic 3 and Knuckles battle in Hidden Palace Zone, and at the same time, Aquatic Relics in Sonic Pocket Adventure. Except the fact that, obviously, that it's on the Game Boy Advance, basically. And by the way, this is what happens if you manage to let the animal capsule manage to drop onto you. You just get a knockback, and that's pretty much about it. Thankfully, you don't get crushed, luckily, because, well, you simply complete the level. So, either way, that pretty much takes care of Angel Island. And now we're about to be hit on... Sorry for a little bit of attention right there, I do apologize for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll present to you the 6th zone in this game, which we have Egg Rocket Zone. And, weirdly enough, it does say Act 1 for some reason, because I'll explain more about this later, because for now, we'll just go ahead and, well, deal with the forms of the Egg Rocket Zone. And yeah, for that particular technique I just performed right there, if you manage to able to, I would say duck and B button at the same time, I'm pretty sure you were able to actually use that technique. I'm pretty sure, though I may be wrong, but even then, let me know in the comments below. So either way though. So anyways, as I said before, we're going to be exploring onto Egg Rocket Zone, in this case in Act 1. And as you can see, we're now going to be playing as Amy, since, you know, Casino Paradise Zone. And this is by far, not only is one of the hardest zones in the whole game, but it's also is one of the longest zones in the game. Because of this though, differently from any other levels throughout the whole game, we need to climb up instead of like going all the way to the right, like the usual any other levels, including Act 2 as well, which we'll get to that in a moment. But either way though, I think this is a primary example of why. Oh, by the way, this is where the game starts to get significantly harder, especially noticeable how Dimps decides to able to actually make these questionable design choices in terms of level ideas and stuff like that. If you thought that Sonic Pocket Adventure was too much emphasis on Bottomless Pit heavy or something like that, well, be prepared for yourselves as, you know, by far is one of the longest and the hardest zone in this game. Although, whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 3, it just puts a lot of hazards onto you. Well, at least in Sonic Advance 2 does have its Bottomless Pit heavy, but then as far as this game in particular goes, it does have a little amount of those Bottomless Pits you might come across into, likely in the beginning portion of the game, but until in the end game though, it decides to able to go for nosedives as in beginner's traps. Let's just say, for instance, for example, is the fact that, well, obviously I'll get to more on that later, the checkpoints are nowhere to be seen, other than the fact that the only way you can able to actually save progressioning in terms of checkpoints is the fact that we need to go all the way up to certain segments of this particular Egg Rocket, and fundamentally speaking, this is the only zone to able to feature a time limit, which if you manage to let the time run out, then I'm pretty sure you lose a life and you have to restart the entire section all over again, or in this case the last checkpoint when you left off with it, so yeah, something's worth classifying for mentioning. And obviously, since we've already did done or complete, rather, Angel Island Zone Act 2 already, that was actually the final time we're going to be seeing the animal capsule in terms of this game itself. Now, whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 2 and Sonic Advance 3, that we might able to come across into something completely different, which again, we'll point it out whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 2 at some point later down throughout the year, and especially noticeable with the forms of, well, specifically Sonic Advance 3, as I said before, we'll get into that until next year, along with the forms of any other, Let's Plays in generals themselves, like, for instance, let's just say Mario Party 3, and also same applies to, I would say Banjo-Tooie, because we were originally trying to go ahead and deal with Banjo-Tooie to begin with back in 2017, but because we actually held off on that game for quite a long time, and as a result we no longer have that particular game on that original Let's Play department. But at least we can able to try this Let's Play again, and join at some point in 2021. Although, technically speaking, it's the fact that that particular game will become 20 years old this year, which, it's kind of shocking to believe, especially noticeable with, well, specifically when it comes to that specific tradition. About the fact the matter is though, is the fact that Mario Party 3 was also getting itself its 20th anniversary treatment until at some point in November at some point. But either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves for this point because, you know, we are actually playing a Sonic game of course, but you know, you probably get the drill for this point. You probably get the drill for that point. So, something's worth mentioning for this point too is the fact that, usually relatively speaking of something, is the fact that since I've still managed to play myself Paper Mario the Origami King just recently, and because of that though, it's hard to explain about it sometimes, I have to admit though, because either way though, anyway, yeah, something's worth mentioning is the fact that, talking of which of Paper Mario, and that was the fact that recently today in Japan, that Mario Story, aka Paper Mario in the English version, but Japanese audience usually calls it, you know, Mario Story. That particular game in Japan is now become 20 years old recently. There's a good thing I managed to able to continuously play through Paper Mario the Origami King on my own time, and as a result, it's been 20 years since the original game came out, specifically in the Japanese release of the game, because it wasn't until a year later in the English version, specifically the North American and especially noticeable with the European PAL release, that we didn't get that until 2001, which I was like, that took way better late than never kind of syndrome or something, but I digress. But still a very, very awesome title indeed, even for the original Paper Mario. So either way though, you still need to recommend it though, if you really want to give that game a shot. Even if you own the Wii U, which I don't think most people seem to get the Wii U nowadays, because, you know, Nintendo Switch is doing super, super well in terms of selling points and all that stuff. And, unless if you really want to pay for the expensive cartridge, pricey rarity, and what the hell, what just happened right there? Having fun there, Amy, for able to bouncing onto these little triangular bouncy stuff? Oh yeah, something's worth mentioning for this point too, is the fact that that particular bouncy triangular stuff that we already come across into, that was the exact same stuff as you remember from the likes of, let's just say Metropolis Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, basically. So either way though, that's all I can say about this here. And by the way, some people usually just get a little bit raged for this level, probably because of how the fact that I said this before already, that we're able to come across into some of the beginner's traps. Like, for instance, you know with that bottomless pit, that if you go into the lower level, that there's actually that moving platform spring that is just usually just appeared below the level, but if you somehow touch the ground, or even touch the actual thing, basically you're instantly killed. So yeah, that's why I consider this to call this the beginner's traps. Even for as the you know, the Sonic Adventure trilogy goes, as far as the beginning, then you know, most people seem to always come across into that kinds of stuff. So, and luckily for me, since I didn't take a single death on this particular stage so far, but nothing compares until later on, however, though, which we'll discuss on that later, because for now, we'll just go ahead and just, well, for whatever reason, we just keep on getting hit like an idiot. Although nothing like an idiot, it's just the actual cheap enemy placement is always becomes like, you know, nosedives in between the enemy placements, as well as the difficulty too. But I digress. And also because of how the fact that this is the beginning of... This is before when Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 and Episode 2, and even Episode Metal if you want to count that, they actually put a lot of emphasis on speed boosters, which I was like, why is that speed booster there? I mean, come on, that doesn't need to be there. I mean, that's what the spin dash is for, right? Ever since in the beginning of Sonic's era. Well, at least ever since in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, of course. But that's probably just me. Or maybe just a little bit too nitpicking, because you know how Dims is like, they always get a lot of exaggerating with, you know, tons of springs, tons of speed boosters, and, you know, all of the above, basically. And this is what the end of the level looks like. We need to hop onto the spring, and then you need to get into this particular, I would say a chimney part or something? I don't know. It has been such a long time since I actually played this game from time to time. But as a result, this actually leads us to Cosmic Angel Zone Act 2. For whatever reason, it doesn't have Egg Rocket Zone Act 2, because instead it's been replaced by Cosmic Angel Zone. So either way though, I'm guessing that's probably likely the inside portion of the Egg Rocket or something? I don't know. And, yeah, this is what I mean when it comes to the forms. And you know what I mentioned before about the fact that the special stages could get a lot more aggressively difficult? Wait until you see the forms of Special Stage 7, as you can tell. That's, well, we'll get to that whenever we're able to make our way from here. I mean, likely so is the fact that if you're able to try to select Tails, you would able to do this no problem. But trying to do this with Sonic on the other hand though, oh man. Back in whenever I first time I've actually played this game, ever since when I was like slightly younger, well, not necessarily younger, but it wasn't until again, in 2014, that's, oh man, it took me a lot of tries just to make it to the forms of that particular special spring itself. But that doesn't end off here, because this is by far the most toughest special stage in the entire game. Because basically, we need to get the ridiculous amount of rings, as you can see, we need to collect about 100 of them. And you know what the forms of that particular, you know, with these little yellow circles, as we've already come across into since the past few special stages ago? Well, those two in particular, except one, are two of them which is being blocked by those bombs. And you see one until, well, not now, but until, like, yeah, this is the bit right there. I did not expect how do I supposed to get that particular yellow circular thing and able to actually just to perform it. I mean, usually I did try it on my own time, but none of it worked on me. So as a result, I attempted able to actually skip those because, you know, I'd rather not able to lose my rings and such. And there's also another thing, there's another reason why that I consider this special stage is by far the toughest of the bunch. Not only because of how the fact that with the depth perception that you have to get on with that specific stuff, but for the love of God, since I'm playing this on the emulator, this means I have to deal with the most awkward movements on the keyboard, which by all means by that, meaning about the fact that you have to be constantly going to be going through side to side, and also the diagonal movements in certain ring formations as you can see there, and, well, here comes the hard part, is that if you made one simple mistake, then you're probably not going to get the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald. But, since I did manage to able to finally accomplish that, by able to achieve by 2+ rings, that means I can still manage to get guaranteed to able to get myself the final Chaos Emerald. And the good thing about this is the fact that unlike in Sonic Advance 2, that once you have obtained the Chaos Emeralds, it doesn't matter what characters you're going to be playing as, you'll have it for good, rather than just trying to able to repeat the special stages 4 times. And so whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 2, oh man, it's going to be a lot of busy work, and I can definitely see why most people seem to able to actually having trouble just trying to able to edit this thing out. When they get to Sonic Advance 2, and I was like, oh man, this is a lot of busy work. Like, we have to replay the entire whole thing 4 times just to get, excuse me, every single Chaos Emerald within each character, which, yeah, as a result, it's just a busy work and all that stuff. Surprisingly enough, this level doesn't feel that long, to be honest right here, unlike in Egg Rocket Zone, that it becomes, like, very, very long. And also, much like in Death Egg Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, that you get yourself an anti-gravity kind of segments, as you can see right there, and I almost get poked right there. Thank goodness for that, because otherwise we'll end up getting poked by spikes, and then I'll lose some rings in the process, which, you know, we don't want to let that happen. Alright, so here's Dr. Eggman in the Cosmic Angel Zone, and his mobile was actually called Egg Snake. By all means by that, well, all you have to do here is just the fact that, you know, with that particular weird looking bridge thing that we have to be able to get usage with it? Well, if you jump at the right time and then just try to able to actually land on that specific spot on the bridge, then you would be able to actually get the cockpit go right back up again. Because otherwise you don't able to actually just get onto the spikes, because, you know, that could be pretty deadly, especially noticeable if you, also you need to avoid a lot of those ball projectiles, as you can see right here, because that also becomes, like, extremely dangerous if you're not careful. This particular battle does remind me of something until whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 3, until next year, But we're not gonna spoil things majorly though, because we already deal with Egg Snake as far as the actual boss in Cosmic Angel, as you know. That pretty much takes care of Zone 6, or to be more specifically, Egg Rocket Zone and Cosmic Angel Zone. And now we're gonna hit on to the X Zone, and what do I mean by that? Well, the first boss encounter in this zone is... Wait a minute, this looks familiar. Why? It's like Sonic the Hedgehog 1 boss battle all over again. Except it's on the Game Boy Advance this time around, which obviously it's like Eggmobile H or H, whatever you want it to be more pronounced with that stuff, which it's pretty obvious for that point. I think it also reused that in Sky Sanctuary Zone and let's just say in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles as well, so if you want to count that. And oh look, that familiar Sonic the Hedgehog 2 boss battle is back, which we have ourselves the Eggmobile D, which actually represents the drill, as you can see from the front. But since we already deal with those two mobiles, which, kind of think about it, it actually has like 4 hit points this time around as opposed to 8, compared to the ones that how it does it in the past. But either way though, we'll get a leave it to that. And luckily, we got ourselves a checkpoint right there, as you saw. And this being about the fact that we actually come across into... I would say, to me though, this is by far is the hardest boss battle I've ever had to come across. And that was the forms of... I would say his particular Eggmobile kind of boss's name is actually known as the Egg X. Meaning about the fact that it's going to be constantly rotating, as you can see right there, for that particular... some sort of like a wheel kind of rotation kind of contraption. And basically it has like 3 different attacks. Like for instance, you can either just send the stretchy hand, or particularly speaking, and I have no idea why I just died right here, even though clearly I was able to receive my ring back. But here's the difficult part about this particular boss fight compared to the others, and that was the fact that I swear to God, the actual timing predicting some of these different contraptions that he might use is, well, a little bit more timing reliability. And also, don't get me started on those stupid ball attack, because I swear to God, those ball projectiles are so strict in my opinion. Especially noticeable, they always come across into some sort of like a, well, like not showing up at all. And as a result, I just keep on getting hit by the forms of a lot of ball projectiles, which is very easy to do, especially noticeable how the fact that this is without doubt one of the toughest boss battles in the whole game. At least to me anyway. And also he actually come across into himself the actual the laser cannon every once in a while. But every once in a while though, this particular battles can be pretty downright luck based at times. Even especially noticeable with that particular... You know, I swear to God, every time whenever I visit this boss battle, he always chooses the ball, which I have no idea why he just always chooses that particular mode right there. I'm guessing it's probably because if I say the ball is going to be the actual hardest part thing about it, and then as a result, you're going to get hit a lot during this battle. But, luckily for me, at least I can able to actually just to carefully time my jumps correctly, and boom! But first, the normal endings. When you defeat Eggman, it's specifically Egg X, it might not be so bad, but then again, sometimes the timing on these specific jumps, even trying to avoid his attacks, can get pretty much a luck factor to it. In fact, this particular ending almost reminds me of a combination of both, let's just say the Sonic X anime, with, you know, with that music in the background, and also at the same time, the Sonic the Hedgehog 2's ending, because once again we're going to be hop onto the Toynado, and as you can see, Tails is going to be piloting the actual Toynado, and, well, everything else is all hunky-dory, doesn't it? And that's your ending. It's the same for the others too. Like, it doesn't matter if you're going to be playing as Tails, Knuckles, or Amy, that you might able to still see the actual falling animation, and then they still ride on the Toynado and such, and able to actually get ourselves the actual normal ending. So if you manage to beat Egg X boss fight, basically that you still come across into the exact same ending as in the forms of that particular Sonic's ending as you saw from there. But yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about it. So either way though, yeah, not much else different about it, apart from the fact that with the different characters you're going to be using. So yeah, the ending is always remains the same. I mean, this is the ending you only see when you finish the game. But there's one exception, however, though, is, hey, go collect all the Chaos Emeralds. Because I still got them. Now let's move on to the true ending. Once Eggman is defeated, his Eggmobile explodes, but instead of the entire place explodes, he just gets away, as he always seems to do. As he flies straight towards the moon. And since we got all the Chaos Emeralds, what can we do with those exactly? Turn to Super Sonic and go chase after him. And it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to the final zone in the game called the Moon Zone. Yes, I'm not joking when I say this, it calls it the Moon Zone. Anyways, this is by far the most lackluster final bosses in any 2D Sonic game ever. Because basically, much like in any other Super Sonic boss battles, is the fact that you need to keep an eyes open with your ring count, because if it reaches to 0, then you're pretty much guaranteed to lose a life. Or in this case, as you can see, I've got 1 life left, so if I die here, that means I've got myself a game over, so we really don't let that happen. So, unless I go my continue though, which is kind of ironic, but still. So yeah, you just have to hit his head about, let's just say, 8 times in a row, and then basically all you have to do is just basically you have to jump dash onto its head, and then basically that's all you have to do really. So even then though, not much to the challenge. Until Sonic Advance 2 and Sonic Advance 3, they might actually get a little bit more aggressively difficult, but in this installment anyway, I mean, look at that. I managed to beat him for about under a minute. I mean, generally speaking, that's how you're supposed to be able to do here. Plus, you get the ridiculous amount of points, as you can see right there. So yeah, that's all I can really say about this particular extra final boss. That's all I can say. Pretty lackluster. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was it for Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention what the actual true final boss is named, by the way. His name was Super Egg Robot, by the way, which I know it sounds a bit weird for that particular name, but that's how it goes, basically. So yeah, let's give my final thoughts of Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance. Of course, there will be one more video coming up until this Thursday, which I'm actually going to be showing you guys the extra video until at some point until this Thursday, because although I'll get into more details onto that until on Thursday, actually. So, excuse me, I really do sorry about this point, guys. What do I think of it? Well, basically, I actually really enjoyed the gameplay in this game, because it reminds me of so much of the actual good old days on the 16-bit console, and also because I'm still gonna call this the true Sonic the Hedgehog 4, just because, you know, with 4 playable characters and all that stuff, and also the zones themselves are super memorable to be able to explore, despite there are some questionable design choices like just nosedives difficulty, you know, with the forms of too many bad enemy placements, and more spikes than Mega Man 4, by the way, and also because they actually contain some questionable bottomless pits every once in a while. The graphics still looks very good, even to this day, even though this came out in 2001 originally in Japan, but it wasn't until a year later in the our country, but it still looks very impressive, even on the Game Boy Advance. The soundtrack is pretty sweet stuff, but I will prefer the Sonic Advance 2 soundtrack over this, because I don't know, I don't usually listen to some of those soundtracks that much of this game, but I'm sure enough though because of my nostalgia of Sonic Advance 2, but then again, we'll tackle for that at some point. and the controls are spot on, and momentum just feels great, and the story is pretty simple for the most part. So you should definitely recommend getting this game, especially noticeable how the fact that it costs a little bit cheaper nowadays. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So I'm gonna end things off here. So join me next time until on Thursday on Let's Play of Sonic Advance, is that we'll show you guys the extra stuff of how this game offers us to. So see you guys until on Thursday. Later, fellas.